Hello everyone, Dan here, and before we get into today's video, I would just like to say all this information is based off the alpha and anything can change at any given time. So with that in mind, let's get into today's video. So guys, Survival Hunter is the spec that is going to be changed the most in battle for Azeroth. It is getting a complete overhaul with a whole new range of abilities and talents. So let's go on and talk about which abilities are now baseline. Okay guys, start off with that your main focus spender will of course be Raptor Strike. This does the same thing as it did back in Legion, it costs 30 focus and deals a good amount of damage. So your main focus generator this time around will be Kill Command. Yes, Survival has this ability too, but for Beastmaster it costs focus. For Survival, this will be your main focus generator. This also means that you can't use it at the start of the fight, otherwise the focus you will generate will be wasted. So what you'll have to do is harpoon in and use a Raptor Strike. This will allow your kill command to generate the focus without wasting it. But along with that, kill command has a 30% chance to reset its own CD, so you can use it again whenever you need to. The next ability we have up is Wildfire Bomb. This is an instant cast ability with a 40-yard range that doesn't cost any focus as of right now. It is on a 15-second cooldown and it throws a bomb on the target that explodes for a little bit of damage, and then the target pulsates for fire damage as well, damaging all other enemies within a 12-yard radius for 6 seconds. The reason I love this ability is that because it's like kind of feels like a fresh new idea, and it feels like I feel like it's something Survival really needs. Okay, next we have Serpent Sting. Yes, it's back. It pretty much does the exact same thing as it did beforehand. Deals poison damage instantly and leaves a 12-second dot on the target, costing 15 focus and has no cooldown. Next we have Disengage. Yes, Survival Hunters finally get this ability baseline now. It was a talent which I thought was really stupid, but Blizzard has finally decided that all hunters should get this nice ability as a baseline now. I think that's a great change, and I think it's something that Survival Hunters really needed. Okay guys, let's head on into our cooldowns, and the first cooldown I want to talk about is Aspect of the Eagle. This is very much different from a last expansion. It's a 1.5 minute cooldown, and what it does is increases the range of your Raptor Strike by 40 yards, lasting 15 seconds. This is going to make it really fun gameplay because you can use your Raptor Strike from ranged, and I think it's going to have some amazing synergy with some of the talents. Heading on to your next cooldown is an ability called Coordinated Assault. It has a 2-minute cooldown where you and your pet both attack at the same time, increasing all damage you and your pet do by 20% for 20 seconds. And while this buff is active, your kill command's chance to reset is increased by an additional 30%. Now this is a good cooldown as it gives a good power boost to you, as well as the ability to get more procs on your kill command, whilst on a semi-long but not too long of a cooldown. So I think this is something that's going to be worth seeing. So now we're heading to the talent section now, and we'll start off with the level 15 talents. So we can see the first one isn't implemented yet, so they're still deciding on what this should be. I am expecting this to be done by the time this video comes out, so it's pretty much irrelevant at this point. But if it isn't, I want you guys down in the comments to tell me what you think this ability could be. Whether it's a ranged ability, a melee ability, or just something entirely useless. It's up to you really, your imagination's your own. Second talent we have on this tier is Terms of Engagement. This looks really interesting as your harpoon generates 40 focus over 10 seconds, so that's really 4 focus every second. This feels like something you could use in either world quests, levelings, or dungeon content, and only really for specific boss fights and raids, I would say. So it would be useful, but not as much in raids. And the last talent we have on this tier is Flanking Strike. When you use kill command, you will also strike the target, dealing damage and generating 10 focus, but only if you are within melee range of that target. So again, it's another reason not to open up with kill command first in your rotation, as you'll be wasting that extra focus, and you potentially might not even be in melee range as well. Heading into the level 30 tier now, we have the first talent, Guerrilla Tactics. This makes your Wildfire Bomb now have 2 charges. This is good for having more uptime on the dot that it gives on the target, as well as since Wildfire Bomb pulsates on the target, having 1 dot on 2 different targets will do some amazing AoE damage. The second talent on this tier is Hydra's Bite. This makes your Serpent Sting hit 2 additional targets, as well as deal 30% additional damage over time. So it does that increased damage over time for a single target use, as well as to make you only need to spend 15 focus required to put it on multiple targets. And the last ability we have on this tier is Butchery. This is an instant cast ability costing 20 focus and has 3 charges with a 30-second recharge timer, striking all enemies nearby in a flurry of strikes, inflicting physical damage to each of them. This talent was back in Legion and will probably be the best for AoE DPS in Battle for Azeroth, but I wouldn't see this being used in a single target fight, depending on how much damage it deals to a single target in general. Okay guys, looking at the level 45 talents, we can see pretty much all of them are the same. Trailblazer, Post Haste, and Camo are something you get in all 3 specs, and it's something we have all seen before, so I'm not really going to discuss them in this section. So we're going to go straight on to the level 60 talents. So heading on to the level 60 talents, we have the first talent, Bloodseeker. Kill command causes the target to bleed, dealing damage for 8 seconds, and you and your pet gain a 10% attack speed for every bleeding enemy within 12 yards. I can see this ability fighting for the top spot on this tier, especially when it comes into fighting 2 or 3 targets at once. Having a good 20 to 30% attack speed will definitely come in handy. So the next talent on this tier is Steel Trap. This replaces Freezing Trap, throwing a steel trap at the target, putting a powerful bleed on it, and immobilizing it for a minute. Any damage other than the bleed will break the immobilizing effect. I can see this used on single target fights if the bleed is powerful enough, but in most occasions it's normally not, so I don't see this talent being a go-to talent in general. And lastly on this tier we have Murder of Crows. This does the exact same thing for all 3 specs. It costs 30 focus, places a dot on the target, and if the target dies whilst the dot is on it, it resets the cooldown of it. On this tier I can see it being best, but I can see Steel Trap or Bloodseeker coming out on top if the damage is right. Going on to level 75 tier, we have Born to be Wild. This reduces the cooldown of your Aspect of the Cheetah, Aspect of the Eagle, and Exhilaration by 20%. This will 100% be the go-to talent due to the fact that it gives 20% reduction to the reduction to Aspect of the Eagle. Since the other 2 talents are mainly utility related, I don't think they will be picked much. Intimidation is the second ability on this tier. Again, since the first talent is so powerful with its CD reduction, I don't see this being used at all. Same can be said with the Binding Shot, which is the third ability on this tier. Even though Binding Shot is a powerful root ability, compared to the CD reduction of Born to be Wild, it doesn't stand any chance. Going on to the level 90 tier, we have Tip of the Spear. Kill command increases the damage of your next Raptor Strike by 15%, stacking it 3 times. This is an unusual talent as Kill command is your focus generator, and using it too much will result in a loss of damage, so you won't find too much time to get it to 3 stacks of this buff, so you can't use it to its fullest potential. I suppose you could use it 1 and 2, just for extra free damage though. The next talent on this tier is Mongoose Bite. Yes, it is now a talent that does pretty much the exact same thing as the last expansion, but this ability replaces Raptor Strike when chosen, and with each successful hit, you increase the damage of your next Mongoose Bite by 20%, stacking up to 5 times for 14 seconds. This successful strikes does increase the amount of stacks that you get, but it doesn't increase the duration, so eventually it will run out. And the last talent on this tier is something unique, Arctic Bowler. Throws an icy bowler at your target, inflicting frost damage and reduces their speed by 30% for 5 seconds. Costs 40 focus on a 9-second cooldown. Now this does sound fun to use, but costing 40 focus on a 9-second CD does sound like a lot, so I think they might reduce either the focus or increase the cooldown, depending on how it feels to play. And heading into level 100 talents, firstly we have our first talent, Birds of Prey. This makes your Raptor Strike extend the duration of coordinated stealth by 1 second. This is a good way to make the CD last longer, so you and your pet can keep that 20% damage buff, and with the increased chance of Kill command to proc because of the buff it gives, you can spend that extra focus on more Raptor Strikes. Talent number 2 on this tier is Primal Instincts. This makes your Harpoon increase your critical strike chance by 15% for 10 seconds, and also your Disengage increase your haste by 15% for 10 seconds as well. But you can only have 1 buff on you at one time. So this talent looks like really fun to use, but it will be difficult to pull off without spending some time practicing first. The best way I can see this being useful is that if you use your Harpoon to get your critical buff in, and do all your abilities there, and once that has run out, you use your Disengage to get to the other side of the boss's hitbox for the hit buff. And of course, once that runs out, you can use your range abilities to make sure you're still damaging the boss whilst you move out for your next Harpoon. Like I said, this will be very difficult to pull off without failing at it many times. And the last talent on this tier is Chakrams. This is the old glaive tofts from back in Mist of Pandaria, 40-yard range, 20-second cooldown, and deals damage to all targets between you and the target whilst travelling. and on the way back to you as well. I would say this is a good opener if this talent is chosen, to be honest, but I think I might prefer Primal Instincts on that one. Okay guys, time for my end thoughts. I didn't like the Spec in Legion. There was too much to do with it in such a short amount of time. It was very gear dependent and stat dependent, but I'm hoping they have changed that with the recent stat nerfs and eye level nerfs. Because it does sound fun going from melee to ranged through the fight, making use of all your utility, I really hope this is the Spec to go to because I really want to play this. Okay guys, that's it for today's video. Leave a like if you really enjoyed it. Comment down below on which class you would like to see in my next alpha info video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.